She's like a sickness in my brain, a vision standing by the window pane. She ripples through the blinds and leaves me in a daze. It's in the way her body moves me, the way she grabs me and intoxicates, until the signals in my mind forget to operate.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Coffee and Crime Time. So we talked about episode 2 and 3 of the Madeleine McCann documentary yesterday, and quickly I'm going to talk about episode 4, and I have a couple other things that I want to talk about. Before I launch into that though, I am not recording my serial killer series today because I thought I was ready, but then I was, as always, researching more, and I found out more about this guy's background and childhood, and I had to find a way to kind of fit that into my script. So because I wasn't even ready with part 1, I was like, I'm not gonna record, I want it to be perfect. So I hopefully will be able to record that this week, but it'll be a little later than expected, but I'll give you guys other content to hang out with while you're waiting for that. It's gonna be worth it. I hope you guys like it. It's gonna be worth it. I'm also recording a video today about the equipment that I use for YouTube, how I research my videos, how I edit them, how I record them, the stuff that I use, basically how I run my YouTube channel, because a lot of you have asked for some behind the scenes look into what I do and how I do it, what kind of stuff I use. A lot of you have expressed interest in starting channels of your own, and you kind of want to know how to get started and what you need to get started. And since I'm unable to record the serial killer series today, I thought, why not just quickly record that so that you guys have it. And, you know, those of you who have asked for it can watch it, and those of you who don't care about it should not watch it. But if you're interested in what happens behind the scenes of what you see, you might want to watch it. All right, let's get started. Episode 4. Now, episode 4 started with Eddie and Keela again, my dogs. You guys know I love them. We talked a little bit in yesterday's segment about how Eddie and Keela had checked the apartments, how they had smelled decomposing human body and also blood. And in this episode, episode 4, they set them loose on a bunch of different cars. So they basically took cars from the Marats, from the McCann's friends, from the McCanns themselves, and had the dogs kind of check those cars out. And according to the dog's handler, he had no idea whose car was whose. And the dogs, they only alerted to the McCann's vehicle, right? All the vehicles that they had, they only alerted to the McCann's vehicle. So now this develops the theory that the Portuguese police have, which is the McCanns drugged the kids to make them sleep so they could go out and they wouldn't wake up, and somehow overdosed Maddie. She died. They discovered this and they hid her body. Now, it was true that the rental car had been rented several weeks after Maddie's disappearance, so the McCanns basically said, how was her body or her blood or the smell of her body found in this car when we rented it several weeks after she disappeared? And they came back with their theory that the McCanns had stored her body somewhere like a refrigerator or something until they felt the heat was off or they weren't being followed as much by the press, and then they moved her to a different location. This theory is supported by one thing that I found really, really crazy about the whole story. And this was one of the things that I found to be the most telling out of almost anything, and it was the fact that Maddie's brother and sister, her twin siblings, they slept through the entire ordeal. They're both in twin beds in this room. Maddie's gone. So not only do the twins sleep through Maddie being taken by somebody, they sleep through Kate coming into the room, finding that Maddie's gone, freaking out, running out of the apartment again, that she believes her child was just taken from, leaving her other 2 children sleeping in that apartment in that same room that she believes her child was just taken from, and running back to the tapas bar. Then everybody comes in, right? The people from the village, the friends of the McCanns, the police. Over the next 5 hours, there's people tromping in and out of that apartment, people crying, people screaming, people shouting her name in the streets outside. And these children, they never woke up. They were a year and a half, I believe. They never woke up once. At some point, they were taken and moved to a different apartment. They didn't wake up then either. They slept through the whole thing. Now listen. We all know Bella, my daughter, my 2-year-old. She's a terrible sleeper. You could literally, I can't even make coffee when she's sleeping because the sound of the espresso machine turning on will wake her up. But I've had good sleepers and bad sleepers. I have 3 kids. Aiden and Nev were excellent sleepers. They slept through the night. They didn't give me any trouble. Aiden gives me a little trouble now, but in the beginning, when he was 2, 3, 4, slept through the night. Nev was an angel. She, never woke up. But there's a difference between being a good sleeper when you're a child and sleeping through like a tragedy unfolding around you. A tragedy unfolding loudly around you. And these kids, they never woke up. So the police who were there and saw these children sleeping in their beds, not being disturbed at all, not even moving, they were like, what the heck is going on? What kind of kids sleep through this kind of ruckus? And Gonzalo Amaro said that Kate kept checking on the twins all night to make sure they were still breathing, that she was really worried about them. So this led to the theory that the McCanns had given their kids Calpol, which I believe is some sort of cold medicine. Let me check. Calpol. So this obviously led to the theory that the McCanns had given all their kids something to sleep so they wouldn't wake up like they had the night before. And they could, go to the bar and drink and eat and not worry about the kids waking up. And they were also throwing the term Calpol around, which is, I believe it's like a suspension, like a Tylenol almost. But that doesn't make you sleepy. It would be more likely that they would give them an antihistamine or Benadryl or something that would make them sleepy. So I don't believe from looking into the Calpol drug, it doesn't look like it makes you sleepy. But the McCanns were doctors, and I did discuss this in my videos. The McCanns were doctors, so they would have had access to things, on a pharmaceutical level that might have made the kids drowsy. And who knows, it's possible that they could have given them too much. And that would really be the only reason that Sean and Emily, the twins, would sleep through all of that. That can be the only reason I can think of. No child, especially 2 children, no 2 children sleep that deeply. I know a lot of you are going to come in here and be like, my kids sleep that deeply. No. Imagine your kids sleeping in a room and there's people coming in and out. There's people sobbing. There's people screaming your sister's name and you don't wake up or your kids don't wake up. It doesn't happen. Now, according to one of Kate McCann's friends, as soon as Kate knew the police distrusted her, as soon as she knew they suspected that she and Jerry might be involved in Madeleine's disappearance somehow, this really gave her a lot of stress because she said now she knew they weren't looking for Maddie anymore because now they didn't believe she had been kidnapped any longer. They believed that her parents had done something. So that really bothered her and gave her a lot of sorrow and, concern. And I completely understand that. However, you do know, if you don't know, this is the case, that Kate was brought in and she was interrogated. And she refused to answer something like 48 or 49 questions. Just refused to answer. So if you're worried about the police distrusting you, pleading the fifth on almost 50 questions is probably not the best way to regain their trust. I understand she may have been told by her lawyer to not answer certain questions for fear of implicating herself. But what are you worried that you're going to implicate yourself in or on, that you would have to go out of your way to not answer so many questions? It makes it look like they had something to hide. And even if that wasn't their intent, even if they didn't have something to hide, her not answering those questions definitely made it seem like she did have something to hide. I do always wonder, though, I'm not sure what the legal implications are or what the law is in situations such as these, but if the police suspected that Sean and Emily had been drugged and that maybe Madeleine had been drugged as well, why didn't they test Sean and Emily, like take blood to see if there was high levels of anything in their system that may have caused them to become so drowsy? Why was that not done? Because the documentary makes it seem as if they suspected this right from the get-go. So why was that not done? Maybe they tried and the McCanns wouldn't allow it because maybe the McCanns legally were allowed to say, no, you're not going to take blood from our children. I don't know, but they were not tested. And in episode 4, the Portuguese police department is accused of I would say. I don't know if accused is the right word, because they never really came right out and said it. They were like, we suspect this is happening, but they were suspected of leaking information about the McCanns being suspects and what kinds of things were going on in the police investigation to the press. And in Portugal, there's this big secrecy thing with the police where they're not allowed to discuss things like that with the press, so they were suspected of leaking things to the press. And I think one reporter came straight out and said, I was talking to people in the PJ and I was getting information from them. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they were trying to set the parents up. I don't believe they were trying to set Kate and Jerry up. I just think that they kind of wanted the word to get out that she wasn't kidnapped. This has nothing to do with Portugal. The McCanns were probably involved. And while they're interviewing and interrogating Kate McCann, she's offered this deal or this kind of out. So they said, if you just confess to concealing a cadaver, it carries a much lighter sentence than what you might be facing later on if we decide to press charges. Those charges will be a lot more serious and they will carry a heavier sentence. So you can probably get a year or 2 for concealing a cadaver and be done with this. You know, they're trying to get her to confess that she was involved somehow, and she never did. But I think even if the McCanns had been involved, even if they were responsible for this, these were people, in my opinion, who were very heavily obsessed with image, who were very proud of their status as doctors. And having that image probably meant more to them. Like, they were willing to throw the dice and see what happened with this investigation rather than confess to something, even if they had actually done it, have to go to prison, lose their medical license, and then constantly have this image and this reputation as the parents who killed their daughter. They were highly respected. They had connections in the government. They had a good amount of money. They had good lives. I think how people viewed them was more important to them than maybe getting off easy for something that they had done. So they did not take any plea bargains. They did not plead down. They didn't take any deal, but they did flee. They left. So once it became clear that the Portuguese government was looking into them, I'm sure they were afraid of being arrested. Nobody wants to be arrested in a foreign country. You can go so far as to trust your own government and know and hope that if you're innocent, the legal system will protect you. But nobody wants to be imprisoned in a foreign country where you don't know how their legal system works. You don't really speak the language. You don't understand what's happening. Nobody wants that. So I understand why they left. It did look as if they were running away because they didn't want to be put in prison. And I did actually feel bad for Kate when there was video of her leaving the police station in Portugal after being interrogated. She just looked defeated. She looked exhausted. She looked like she did not know which way was up. And every time both her and Jerry were interviewed by the Portuguese police department after they left the police station, the press were all waiting. Of course, the obnoxious press, they can't back off of anybody for 5 minutes. Press were all waiting, and the police made them basically stand next to them while the police department addressed the press and said, you know, they're arguidos, they're people of interest, they're suspects right now. And they made Kate and Jerry stand next to them. And Kate just looked completely, like I said, devastated, lost, exhausted. Jerry looked pissed. Like, if looks could kill, Jerry McCann would have been shooting laser beams out of his eyes to every single person in that room. But at the same time, I understand, right? If it's me, because I'm always putting myself in the position of both sides. It's an issue that I have when I'm looking at all these cases because I can never just fall on one side really strongly. I'm always putting myself in the shoes of people on both sides. And I do it with murderers. I do it with cult leaders. Not with child molesters, though. I don't do that with them. I have no sympathy or the desire to sympathize with anybody who hurts a child. But everybody else, I can find a way to empathize and put myself in their position. And if I was in Jerry McCann's position, and if I was innocent, and if I had nothing to do with my daughter's disappearance, and she's still gone, and now everybody's focusing on me instead of where she might be, I imagine I would look a lot more pissed than he did. So I get that. Loudest truck ever. There's at least 25 loud trucks who pass my house, probably within an hour period. It's so annoying. If the goal of the Netflix documentary was to gain and garner more sympathy for Jerry and Kate, I do believe that it's working because this documentary has made me put myself in their position more than I had in the past. Once again, though, there's always that part of me that's like, something's still not right. Something's still not right. The fact that the cadaver dog sensed, death on Kate McCann's clothes and on Cuddle Cat. The fact that, the twins slept through such a crazy experience and they never woke up. The fact that Kate didn't want to answer those questions. The fact that the Tapas 9 never got their story straight exactly about what happened that night. The fact that Jane Tanner, who's an idiot, was so quick to point to Robert Murat and say, yep, it was him, and it wasn't him. And the person you saw wasn't even the person who kidnapped her. So it felt like they were trying to push the blame off on somebody else, and they didn't care who they pushed the blame off on. And what kind of person does that? A person who knows the truth about what happened, knows that they're guilty or implicated, and wants the attention to be put elsewhere. In my opinion, I don't like Jane Tanner. I don't like her. So this was requested by one of my subscribers to talk about the Romeo Lacoste. Is that his name? Romeo Lacoste or Lacoste? Anyways, this Romeo guy, he is a YouTuber and he's a celebrity tattoo artist. He's based out of Los Angeles. I'm on his Instagram page right now. It looks like all his tattoos are black and white. I just found out that he tattooed Austin McBroom from the Ace family. The Ace family, in my opinion, are some of the most problematic people on YouTube. These family vloggers who just use their kids to get views. I don't like it, but I'm not going to talk about that. I don't want to get into this YouTube drama commentary world just because there's so many people who do that so well, and it's not my thing. But so he's tattooed a bunch of YouTubers. It looks like the Dolan twins. Looks like James Charles. He's tattooed a bunch of people, YouTubers, celebrities, all the like. But regardless, he's come on to some hard times with some controversy and some drama lately. It has come to the attention of almost everybody at this point. If you're on Twitter, you've probably seen it, that Romeo is a little bit of an R. Kelly. Basically, he's been accused of communicating with his underage fans, girls that are 14 and 15 years old, in a very sexually explicit way. And these girls, they have, receipts and they have proof and they have the messages done through Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. I think they had a group. They were called Romeo's Fruit Cups or something like that. So these were young girls who were fans of him, and he would talk to them and he would say very inappropriate things to them, guys. I'm not going to say it out loud, but these DMs weren't good. And he's come out and said that these girls were throwing themselves at him. These girls were flirting with him. And I agree, some of them were. But that doesn't matter because he knew how old they were. I don't think it really matters. They're 14, 15, 16-year-old girls who are fans of yours, who are fangirls. So yeah, they're gonna flirt with you and they're gonna throw themselves at you. But as an adult man, it's your job as the person who, should know better in this situation to not reciprocate that. Just because a child is flirting with you doesn't mean you flirt back. Doesn't mean you tell them to come over to your house and you'll have a shot waiting for them so you can do all sorts of dirty, disgusting things to them. I just can't. Listen, I have a young daughter. I have a teenage daughter. If this guy had spoken to my daughter in that way, Romeo would have had bigger issues than what he's facing now. I'll just tell you that much. That's all I'll say, because I'm not threatening him because he didn't mess with my daughter. But if you do mess with any of my kids, then I will come for you. And I will have the wrath of the Harlequins behind me. So anyways, he's basically, I don't even think he's denying it at this point because it looks like there's so much proof that he cannot deny it, but he's saying they threw themselves at him. He claims that he's unused to his new social media fame. So all these girls are throwing themselves at him. He's, so overwhelmed by his new popularity. So you have nothing to do at this point but invite a 15-year-old girl over to your house for a shot and some 50 Shades of Grey action. And more and more and more and more, obviously, as this happens, this is always a snowball effect. Once one person or two people come out and make these claims and allegations, you've got all sorts of people coming out of the woodwork saying the same thing has happened to them. And some of these are probably true, and some of these are probably just an attention grab. However, it's clear that he did this, allegedly. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. If you want to see a really good video that was done on that and explains more, please check out my friend Dustin Daly's channel. He does all the YouTube stuff, but he did a really good video. He reads out some of the chats and the texts and the messages and the DMs, and is just really well put together video. As always, Dustin is awesome. He puts together amazing videos. I love watching him. I love his personality. And so if you're interested in this Romeo thing more, then go ahead and check out Dustin's video, and I will link him in the description box, so you can just click on that and check him out. And you should check him out anyways, because he's hilarious. One last thing is there is a moratorium now on the death penalty in California. Oh no, I just made, are you going to Starbucks? No. Oh no, I just made coffee. All right. Okay, love you, bye. So basically, any inmate who's on death row in California at this point, waiting to get the death penalty, they will not be executed while this moratorium exists and is in place. And at this point, it looks like they're trying to, completely outlaw the death penalty in California, so they won't be sentencing people to the death penalty anymore. And that has implications on our good friend Scott Peterson, who is currently on death row. And we talked about Scott Peterson in my video. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description. But Scott Peterson has been trying to contest his death penalty status. And I guess he's lucking out here because it doesn't seem like the death penalty in California is ever going to be brought back into effect. So Scott Peterson does escape his death penalty by the skin of his nose, but he's probably going to escape it. And, there's a lot of implications on this California death penalty moratorium. It looks like other states may be following suit. I'm not sure how anybody feels about the death penalty. Half the time, I'm not even sure how I feel about the death penalty. You get so angry at these cases like Chris Watts. If anybody was going to get the death penalty, I felt like it should have been him. But my husband and I were discussing it, and he was like, I would rather get the death penalty than live in jail for the rest of my life or live in prison for the rest of my life. And I feel the exact opposite. I feel like I would rather be alive than dead, no matter what circumstance. So in prison, some people act like prison's terrible, and it's not obviously as good as it is to be out in the open and to be free. And prison sucks. But if you did something to warrant you going to prison, that's where you belong. But these inmates can do all sorts of things. They go outside, they play basketball, they work out, they get college degrees, they read books. It's not a perfect world. You're not free to do what you want, but you're not dead. You're still alive. You still have the ability to experience life and, to a smaller extent, but you still can experience life. And certain people like Chris Watts, I don't feel like he deserves to experience life. That's just my opinion. But Scott Peterson, because there is so much still out there wondering, did he do it? Did he not? I kind of feel like he would have gotten the death penalty revoked anyways, especially because it's California. They're very liberal. They're very anti-death penalties. That's that. So my mom's stopping over. She just called me. I have to help her figure out a way to get her picture from her phone to Walgreens to print it out. It's so easy. All you do is go on the website, but I'm going to help her do that really quick. And then I'm going to jump into recording my next video. And then I'm going to finish up the research and the script for my serial killer series. And then I do have to edit a video today as well. So, and I probably have to edit this video. Here, I gotta edit this one and make sure it's up for you guys tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed our coffee and crime time. I sure did. Let's get back together tomorrow and talk about episode 5, because I'm gonna watch that today if I have time. I feel like I don't have time, and I know I still have to go to the drugstore too, because I have to get Vicks, because Bella's been sick and she's so stuffy, and now Aiden's getting sick, so I definitely have to get Vicks. And I don't know where mine went. I'm sure Bella threw it under something at one point because she hates it. Okay, so stay kind and stay beautiful, guys. I love you so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Oh, she just comes and goes, and she's got me living in a chemical love, and I try to find the strength to know she comes back to me again. I'm gonna come up from